Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here and welcome to Total Recon, the show where I take a look at games that are under development on Kickstarter, Early Access, Alpha or Beta. Now in today's episode we're going to be taking a look at a game called Aegis Defenders. Now this is a game that is currently on Kickstarter as of July 30th all the way until September. They will be on Kickstarter looking for your backing to get funded. They're also on Steam Greenlight at the moment as well. However, I will link their Kickstarter campaign down there so you can get more information about the game. So what is Aegis Defenders? Well, what you're looking at right now, of course, the main menu. It is a Unity engine game, so you're not seeing any sort of options menu or anything like that on the screen right now. And that's because the options are all in the pre-launch launcher program to get the game going. Pre-launcher, that works. Alright, so we're going to quickly have a look at what this game is all about. Now, it is an action platformer in a sort of Metroidvania style, so there's a little backtracking this and that. And it combines elements of a sort of tower defense type of game, which I'll explain a little bit more later on. So, the two main characters that you play with, I'll just skip through dialogue, of course. It's not really relevant to this playthrough at the moment because this is just a demo that has been kindly provided by the developers, who are actually called Guts Department. They're based in Los Angeles. So yes, so this main character right here, which I'm controlling, over here, this is Clue. This is the main character, or I suppose both of them are main characters, but Clue is a girl, and she has a rifle and traps abilities and stuff, which we'll see later on. Of course, this is just the tutorial segment. And the game is actually set up for controllers as well as keyboard. I'm currently using the keyboard. So we just drop down into here. So there's jumping abilities and stuff like that. So it is actually showing both of the controls on screen right now. So just jump. Can't get up. And the game actually detects it. It tempts you to try and do it anyway, which is a little bit interesting. So we'll just go through it. Alright, so now we're controlling the second character, and this is Clue's grandfather, also known as Bart. And this is a little bit different because, like I said, this is a tower defense game combined, but it's an action platform at the same time, but it has a few different sort of elements to the action platforming, which is very interesting. So what it's actually telling me now is to open the I press the I key to open the build menu. So when we open the build menu, what we're actually looking at is we have access to blocks right now. So if I just have a look through here, we can actually modify things, or we can create blocks to begin with. So we can build a couple of different blocks. We have a defensive blocks, and we have the floating ones, which both do different things, and they cost different amounts. So let's try to build that. Oh, we don't have the resources. So if you look at the top left corner of the screen, underneath where there's a heart picture, which is of course the health of that character, you actually have two different types of resources, and these are used to build things. So while Clue can access different areas and find these sort of resources, Bart then uses them to go and build things. So right now we need to get up here so we can actually just build a block, which will enable us to get stuck, amongst other things, and jump up here. So I like this sort of new kind of I mean, this is probably not the first example of such a thing being included into a game, but it definitely is a refreshing thing. It's not your standard platformer all the way through. There's just a different sort of element to it. I believe there was another game that did this, was Trine. If you played Trine as the wizard, you actually had the option to create platforms and such like that as well. So that was another game that did that, and it was definitely a more interesting way of doing platforming. Of course, this is a little bit more linear way of doing it, but there we go. Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit about the art style as well, because this is something that I find particularly interesting. Also, one thing before I get onto the art style, these are the enemies that you encounter. Expected, as you know, action platformers always have these sort of enemies that pace back and forth. Clue has a rifle that she can use to attack the enemies, and you can see numbers coming off them. They don't actually seem to be very useful in the sense that you kind of have a feeling of how much damage you're doing, but it's not all that useful because you don't know how much health these things have anyway. Or at least I can't see any way to determine how much health they have. Also, there's no recycle time on the weapon, so I can actually just hammer the keyboard button and fire as many times as I want. So, good if you want to take enemies down quickly and give yourself repetitive strain injury. Very, very good for that. So you can see I actually take down enemies pretty quickly. And the bullets seem to go through walls, and I'm not sure how far they go. So I could potentially hit something all the way over there just by doing that. I have no idea. It's not very clear at the moment. Because this is just a demo, so that could all change in future. Alright, so now we're going over to Bart, and of course, Bart doesn't have an actual weapon to use, or at least not one that you can fire directly, so he's going to have to dispatch enemies in a different sort of way. Let's just open that. And it's given us a blueprint. Alright, this blueprint is actually for a turret, so just ignore that for a moment. I'll show you how to build a turret. We just select a turret, and we get our 9 square grid again, and we can place it down. Now, the turret will fire in whichever direction it is placed down in. It doesn't rotate, so it can only fire in the direction that you place it in. Which, actually, I've just found out, is relative to whichever direction the character is facing when you open the build menu. So if you want to change that, rotate yourself around, and there we go. It's facing the other way. Of course, the enemy's over here, so we probably want to face it that way. That would probably be the ideal way. Now, these turrets are not smart, so they will fire a burst of 3 rounds, or 2 rounds, I'm not sure exactly which one. It looks like 3, yes. They fire 3 rounds in a select interval, and will continue doing that to deal damage to enemies. Sounds simple enough. However, that also means that when you want to attack specific types of enemies, moving at particular speeds, you do have to plan accordingly. And there's also a slight build time as well, so you definitely want to make sure, in the platforming section anyway, that you place it at such a time where the enemy can't actually hit you. Right, the bullets don't damage us, so I can stand here all I want, and it's not actually going to hurt me at all. Right, so now we have another jumping bit, and we of course could build a block. However, if I built a defensive block, it's not actually going to help me all that much, because I can, as you can see, it's more than 1 block height that I need to climb up. So what we can actually do now is build a floating block. So what this does is it floats in the air, as you would imagine, but it also has less health than a normal defensive block. So against flying enemies, for example, we could probably use that to slow them down. But they will damage the block and destroy it a little bit faster. So all well and good is a kind of idea of how we build things and how we make use of them. So it's not just for platforming purposes, it also has a purpose later on, which I'm about to show you. Now, we'll just skip through this, and I'll be showing you what the, well, the basic premise of the game, what you're about to see here. This is the Aegis. So in the story anyway, the 2 main characters are going around the world to try and awaken the Aegis, which is sort of guardian, kind of, think of the Colossus type of character, and you're kind of on the right track. They're giant golems of some sort, which are there to kind of, I'm not too sure. But that's what they're doing, is they're going and activating all of these. And every time they activate them, it does take some time for the Aegis to awaken, so this is where the tower defense aspect comes in. Of course, here we are, there are 2 phases. There's the enemy phase, which you're seeing right now, which is when enemies come to attack us. And I activate RSI Simulator 2014 to go and defend us. And right now we have the player phase. So we have 40, or rather 50 seconds to build something. So I switch over to Bart, go over and build a turret, for example. And should I have enough resources, I can go and do the same thing on the other side. I want to actually build a block over here so we can slow down the enemy as well. Hopefully I can get over here, and I might have enough for another turret. I think so. Alright, let's build another turret over here, and you know what, let's drop another block over here. So this is how we set up our defenses. Now that gives us another 13 seconds or so to do stuff. Of course, when you have more resources and you have more options, you might find yourself using Bart a lot more to actually build things, because he is more of a passive builder character that you'd use during this particular phase. So what does it mean for Clue? Clue becomes a turret. As you can see here, she started firing automatically, and that's just dependent on which directions he's facing. So if I place her over here and switch to Bart, she will continue firing in that direction. Is it intelligent? No, it's not intelligent at all. It just fires in that direction, so she becomes a turret just like all the others. I can take a more active role and just activate Clue directly and come over to whichever side is under attack and support accordingly, because of course I have the ability to fire a lot faster than the turrets do, and of course I can choose the direction I'm firing in. So all well and good, I can take a more active role in the defense of the Aegis for this particular part. So that's kind of how it works, really. It's just set up your defensive area, and that's really it. You can do the building at any time. That's, I think, one really good advantage of it, is that you're not locked out from building just because the enemies are attacking already. You already have the option of building anytime you want. Now, currently we only have one enemy type. But now we're about to see one of Clue's new abilities, which is the ability to lay down traps. Now, the laying down of traps, of course, is requiring of resources as well. So if I want to put spike traps down, for example, these will damage enemies that go through them, or I can put a slow field down, which will slow them down as they go through that. That is quite nice. And I might want to go over here and put another spike trap down, because I think that, we're probably going to need it. Also, just a bit of preparation, because I know that there is I have actually played through this part before, and there is an enemy that is quite difficult to get rid of, which comes flying through here later on, so I will need to get rid of that. Yes, so the couple of chests up there, I'm thinking of trying to get those as well, so I will need to do that. Basically, you have to survive the waves and protect the Aegis until it is fully awakened. And it is animated as well, so once we pass, I think it's wave 3, you'll see the Aegis start to climb out of the ground and stuff in different phases. So, all what we will be seeing is kind of the sort of stages of the Aegis being awakened. Now, I'm not actually particularly good at tower defense games, to be honest, so I have had to fail quite a lot, and you're probably going to see me fail later on, who knows. Right, now, talking about the art style of this game, it is definitely what you might call pixel art, but it's a sort of different style of pixel art, because it is not the kind of, I suppose, grid-based kind of pixel art, in the sense that this is more smooth in style, especially if you're looking at the backdrops as well. It's intended to be a tribute to, the old 16-bit games. You see the Aegis is starting to climb out of the ground now. To the old 16-bit games, so for example, games such as Another World and stuff like that, where they had hand-painted backgrounds. That actually was a period of time where you had very intricate details and stuff in the way that I suppose levels were designed and how art was done. So the developers say that the particular style of the setting is based on animes such as those done by Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli, so you might actually recognize some things as being inspired by that. I'm not too sure. I'm not really familiar with the work too much myself, so that's one thing that I'll leave up to you, the viewer, to determine. But definitely, it's not ugly by any stretch of the imagination. It is definitely something that has had a lot of work being put into it, and the detail definitely shows. Now, we've just got a new enemy type, which I need to stop immediately, because they are just an absolute pain. The annoying thing is that there is an instant failure state, which I don't really agree with. I think the Aegis should actually have some sort of timeout, because especially for the first thing that you do, hopefully this is not the first level of the actual game, because that might be a bit too much for a new player. But basically, it should be a case where you don't fail immediately as soon as one enemy touches the Aegis, which is kind of what happens now. You about to see it? Yes, there we go, and I've failed immediately. So that's something I'm not really too big a fan of, the fact that that happens. But then again, this is a demo of a game that is still under development, and frankly, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem seeing improvements in this in future. Definitely everything that you see here is very much subject to change, so don't take it as this is what you are going to get, because it really, really isn't. It might be close. We never know exactly how far in development they are, but that being said, it does not mean that it's a new type of trap. It definitely doesn't mean that what you're seeing here is going to be the actual final game. But so far, as far as the premise of it anyway, it seems interesting. I think there's going to be a very nice story to this, and definitely the amount of work gone into the development of it so far is already quite extensive. So definitely something that I think deserves the attention. And quite rightly so. We've seen so far it is actually pretty close to getting funded as it is. So we could be seeing this title get funded very, very quickly on Kickstarter. Yes. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there because I think that's about as much terrible defensive ability that you could probably see from a player right now. But definitely this is one game that is worth checking out. This is Aegis Defenders. The link to the Kickstarter page will be down in the description below. My name is Panzer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ultimate.